The masks of the Kindred seek you.
Thomas here with Much Props, going to give you another how-to video. Today we are building something from League of Legends. I've built something from it before. I'm sure it'll pop up here on the screen. But I was looking on Etsy of all places to get some inspiration because I guess after all the things that I've purchased on there, Etsy thinks it knows me pretty well. And it started suggesting all these random masks and things. And I saw this Kindred mask from League of Legends in which the character is like a dual character. So like it's got a lamb and a wolf character, and the lamb wears a wolf mask and the wolf wears a lamb mask, which I thought was a cool concept. And I really liked the wolf mask itself and thought, why not try and tackle that? So that's what we're going to do. Today we are going to build a wolf mask from League of Legends. It's Kindred's mask. So let's get to building. I have several videos where I show my template making process. The Guy Fawkes mask that I did recently is a good example. I also have a video dedicated just for template making and another for sizing to fit you that you should definitely check out. Here's a quick summary of how I do it. I start with a dummy head and a reference image. Using foil and duct tape, I make the shape. Once I'm happy with it, I put another layer of foil over and then cover with duct tape to then make my marks to cut out. I transfer the duct tape pattern onto poster board to flatten it and make it easier for you to see. I mark angle cuts, size foam use, and give pieces names associated with body parts they go on. Once all that is done, now I can trace it onto my foam. I like using 6mm for most masks and helmet builds. After I trace out all the parts onto the foam, I rough cut them to make it easier to trim up properly. My templates are color coded. The cover page always explains these markings, but I figured while I got you here, I might as well tell you. Blue edges mean that the part needs a 45-degree angle cut inward. Usually this makes a nice angle on the mask and overall kind of helps with a complex shape. The green highlight is for edges that need a 45-degree angle outward cut. Keep a sharp knife, lock your wrist while pulling through, and try to make as clean a pull as possible. I like to keep the template close by so that I can reference it with my edges and know how I need to hold my blade. Before glue up, I need to do a little heat forming to the foam. This pushes the foam closer to its finishing position and reduces the amount of pull on my seams. That will cause less gaps and issues with alignment or additional sanding that has to be done. Heat up both sides of the foam and push it onto a round surface. I use a glass dome that's supposed to be like the cover for my back porch light, but just kind of stays in the workshop with me. You can make adjustments after assembly too. You just have to be more careful because you don't want to heat up a seam and cause it to pull apart. I align my template and the foam cutouts in the orientation that they go together, apply contact cement to all the edges after it sets up, start tacking edges together. I like to close up darts first, then do my best to trust my registration marks and stick them together. Generally, I do one side at a time so that the glue doesn't sit for too long. Once both sides are assembled, I lay down a layer of contact cement down the middle of both pieces, let it set, and then tack them together. This part can be difficult with more complex shapes, but with enough practice, you get kind of used to it. If the seams aren't flush, you can always just take a rotary tool and sand it back if you need to. I see that my reference image has this cutout under the eye, and instead of having to reinforce that edge so that this mask doesn't spread out, I make a design decision and just decide to make it a recess on the mask and paint it black. So I draw the area I need gone, cut it out, and then cut a strip of 6mm foam underneath it. Depending on the reference images you look at, the details vary quite a bit. I liked the 3D model I found on Sketchfab and decided to mimic it. I drew the symbol on the forehead, drew my rough lines for carving the wood texture, and then put my respirator on to carve in the lines with a stone bit on my rotary tool. Wear a respirator while you sand foam. You don't want to breathe that dust in. It can be unpleasant to your lungs and sinuses. I also went ahead and used a wood burner in some areas that were a little harder to reach or areas I needed to get a little deeper. Two coats of Plasti-Dip. I don't know if my paint scheme is really true to the in-game character model, but I liked some of the images that I found where it was purple, so I just went with it. I am starting with some Plat Effects acrylic paint in purple and blue to start off. As it dried, I mixed in some white to make lighter passes and hit the edges. The first layer is pretty wet, but the lighter the layers got, the more it was kind of like a dry brushing technique over the top. You hit less areas and you only kind of hit the high points. I also hand painted the symbol in the forehead white. For the eyes, I thought about adding a light to make it glow, but figured I could probably just get away with the illusion of a glow if I did a paint job good. I took some sheer white material, put down some light passes with blue acrylic paint, and then kind of made a gradient effect to white as you got closer to the center of the eye. Then I simply super glued it into place. Once they were on, I dry brushed a little bit of the blue around the edges of the eye to kind of make it look like it was glowing. The strapping is pretty simple, like I do in most of my mask builds. I hold the mask up to my head and see where it lays on my face. Then I take some 1-inch elastic banding and stretch it a little bit past that point to get the length I need. Once I cut it, I sandwich the elastic between 2 pieces of scrap 2mm EVA foam and the mask. This secures it into place and prevents it from ripping off. And we are finished. Here is the end result. Overall, I think it turned out pretty good. Now, I do want to point out a few things. I talked with my brother and asked him kind of what Kindred's color scheme was and all that stuff, and he said that it was pretty dark as far as the color, maybe around black or maybe a little bit of highlight blues, but a lot of the reference images that I found had it purple, which kind of makes sense with like the lighting effects and things that you see in game. So I thought I would just kind of go with that particular color scheme, which I really liked, and I don't have a lot of props on the channel that I've painted purple. And I probably took it a step further than I needed to by putting that like wood grain texture on there, but I really like the way it turned out. On top of all that, it only took me like literally 3.5 hours from start to finish of work time, not dry time, to make it. So yeah, definitely an easy build that somebody could throw together in a couple of hours and paint up and look super cool. Let me know if you like this down in the comments below, and if you want to see me make the lamb mask, I'll give it a shot too. And then apparently you can combine the 2 masks so that half of it is lamb and half of it is wolf, which would make for a third build possibly that you could do from this template. So I don't know. Maybe you'll try and make one of these yourselves and impress your friends with your ability to pull things from your favorite video game and make them into a real life thing. Or if you don't know much about the video game at all, you can admire its cool looking character design. Yeah. Maybe you'll get some.
Yay!
And inevitably, they're going to ask you, how'd you make that? You can give them one of these. Tell them. Much props. And it goes on pretty nice and looks pretty cool, and makes me want to go howl at the moon or get some lamb chops for some reason. Peace out. If you enjoy what I do here on YouTube and want to see more projects like this one, please consider joining these awesome people listed here with me over on Patreon to build a bigger, better, more creative community together.